Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. As you probably know, in New York City at the United Nations, there's a number of meetings where diplomats, leaders of countries, stand up and tell whatever they want to say about the world and Ukraine. And from what I heard, listening to them and reading certain articles, I didn't see much substance. I saw a lot of pathos, but not logos. I heard a lot of accusations, but I didn't hear the facts to support those accusations. I heard a lot of name calling, but I didn't hear the correlation or connection between the name calling and the actions that would make the connection between those adjectives that are used. So in this case, it's Russia's foreign minister Sergei Lavrov's turn. So he has a speech, and I'm just going to use for this video a little part of his speech where he talks about Ukraine's legality. And this is it. It's from today, which is the 22nd of September 2022. And this is from Sputnik, obviously a Russian outlet, but it's going to tell us what he said, and probably with some of their interpretations, but we can, sort it out. And this is the title. Ukraine has been in state of lawlessness since 2014, Lavrov says. All right, well, let's see if that fits, this statement or accusation fits the facts. Since 2014, Ukraine has been in a state of lawlessness. Okay, Ukraine descended into chaos in late 2013 after the Yanukovych government reversed course on penning an association agreement with the European Union in favor of integration with the Russian-led Eurasian Economic Union instead. In February of 2014, the Ukrainian president was overthrown in a US-sponsored coup, sparkling the present security crisis. This is what he said, right? The term impunity or lawlessness aptly characterizes the situation that Ukraine has been in for over 8 years now. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has stated, and I'm quoting, "As I understand it, today's meeting was motivated by the desire of some delegations to discuss the subject of lawlessness impunity in Ukraine. I think this is very, very timely, because this term, lawlessness impunity, reflects what has been happening in this country since 2014, Lavrov said, speaking at the United Nations Security Council ministerial meeting on Ukraine on Thursday. And I'm quoting, "For more than 8 years, the Ukrainian army and nationalist militant formations have been killing the inhabitants of the Donbas with impunity, only because they refuse to recognize the results of the criminal, bloody and anti-constitutional coup in Kiev, because they decided to defend rights guaranteed to them under the Ukrainian constitution, including the right to freely use their native Russian language," end quote, the foreign minister said. Lavrov accused Kiev of spending years waging a, quote-unquote, total frontal offensive against the Russian language through a series of laws adopted in 2017, 2020, and 2021, all of which, he said, were directed at, quote-unquote, squeezing out the Russian language, in fact, its total ban, end quote. The minister compared Ukrainian authorities' destruction of Russian language books in schools and the demolition of monuments to Russian writers to the kind of thing the Nazis in Germany did in 1930s. Well, what do you think? Well, you might say, he didn't make his case. Okay, well, the thing is, put it this way. Whatever country you are in, let's say you have a legitimate government there. Maybe you have a king, a monarchy. That's a recognized legitimate government. Maybe you have a government that was formed after elections, in a democratic system, okay, and of electing officials, representatives. So either way, think of your country where you have the leadership. And it's a process to get there. I'm not talking about the dictatorship, okay? Because dictatorships might be, and usually are, tyrannical. Now, let's go. And imagine that you go to work and then next day you wake up and you find out that there are some people that you knew in the country, some politicians, who with the support of a foreign nation and foreign services, they just overthrow this government with arms, with weapons, okay, including militia, police, army, part of army, is something like that, with the help of outside forces. And then these guys get in power. The legitimate government until then flies away, all right, instead of being that. And then these guys install themselves as the new leaders. Now, are they legitimate? No, they're not legitimate, okay? Because they took over a legitimate government in an illegitimate way. Okay, now, from then on, that's illegitimacy. Now they say, let's say for some time they lead and they say, oh, we're going to have elections. All right. But instead of population saying, wait a second, you're illegitimate, you don't have a power to do anything, it's not you. And you have a part of the population who says, you know what, we don't recognize you, we're just going to be our own until, the other government, which is in exile, they're not dead, come back and we, continue our legitimacy. And this guy said, no, we're going to do something to you. And they say, well, we're not, we want to separate. We're not under your jurisdiction, illegitimate jurisdiction, which is proper, isn't it? You don't recognize a government that way. And these guys, the new government, the new thugs, correct? The new traitors, because they're called traitors. By definition, that's a traitor right there, who fights against his nation, against the government, to overthrow it with the support of outside support, okay? Sponsorship. So these guys send tanks over there and they start killing those citizens, okay? Now, how legitimate that government is, how legitimate it is. It was not those people over there attacking the Kiev government. It was the Kiev illegitimate government attacking them. And then these guys are organizing elections, but those guys are not voting because they do not recognize the whole process. Why? Because they know the things are already set. Because, they count the vote, basically. So the illegitimate government was going to hold elections, organize elections? I don't think so. And they're going to be fair and nice when they did an illegality? Think about it. Think about your house. You're in a house and someone comes and kicks you out. Only you. And there's a family over there. Your family. And this guy said, okay, or maybe, I don't know, it's your son. And the neighbor comes and they kick you out. What are you going to do? And they say, well, no, now we're going to do again elections under my supervision. I don't think so. So this is what he talks about lawlessness and illegitimacy. Lavrov. I don't have to go further. It's like, from 2014 until 2022, there were agreements signed by the illegitimate future governments that they were elected, but not by the whole country. But it's signed documents, in the name of the whole country. And the war continued over there. So the country's army attacked a portion of the country. They said they don't recognize those guys who took over in the way they took over. So tell me what's going on there. So I think he's got a point at least. Remember, there's an outside sponsor that makes it, and it was a legitimate, democratically elected government. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.